Hey everybody, thank you for joining. Welcome to episode 5 of Fear of Becoming Obsolete at Work, or FOBO as we like to call it. I am your friendly neighborhood product owner, Tom Ald, and today we're going to talk about leaders. Leaders, managers, supervisors, anybody that has your career in their hands. These leaders will directly impact your happiness, but more importantly, your future in the organization. So grab a coffee, tea, or your favorite adult beverage, and let's talk about staying relevant at work. Leaders. There are all kinds. There are the brilliant technology leaders that take their vision and will it into reality. There are humanitarian leaders that fight injustice and bring a sense of purpose in a world of chaos, even if the powers in charge view them as a threat. Then there are the leaders among us, the ones that have no authority, no budget, no organizational control, but they're the people we turn to when we are lost. Let's remember, every leader you encounter has something to teach you. Bad leaders teach you how not to behave. Good leaders inspire us to be more like them, but not by mirroring them, but by becoming the best leader we can by being true to ourselves and our values. Leaders have an outsized impact on the success of an organization because they make the decisions, good and bad, that determine the future success of our organizations. If your leader makes a good decision, opportunity and security can be yours. But if your leader makes a bad decision, you're out of a job. Of the rainbow of leaders and leadership styles we could talk about, let's focus on the two types that I think are most important for our discussion today. That's a command and control leader versus a servant leader. Let's start with the command and control leader. This was the primary leadership style of the 20th century. It's based on the industrial age of the early part of the century, as well as the military leadership influence from 2 world wars. Leaders who employ this approach prefer to make all the important decisions and to closely supervise and control their workers. Leaders give orders and they expect them to be followed. Collaboration is not an option. While this style can promote efficiency, this style demonstrates that leadership does not trust workers. And unfortunately, this creates an environment where the boss knows best. They must know exactly what they're doing at all times. One bad decision could be catastrophic. At the same time, it devalues individual creativity and almost completely removes internal motivation. Workers act out of self-preservation and fear instead of inspiration. It's all about productivity. Get more done faster, better, cheaper. This style also tends to emphasize the difference between leadership and workers, and will usually lead a company culture that results in a we versus they climate, with all the baggage that brings. So why did this style take such a strong hold in the 20th century? Let's think about that. The problems we were trying to solve were more linear. They were trying to figure out how can we make 100 cars a day instead of 10. They were trying to think of how can we feed 200 million people instead of 100 million people. Customer segmentation was non-existent. All customers got the same product, delivered in the same way. Customer expectations were lower, especially in regard to customization. Technology was in its infancy. Information and data was slow, siloed, and only for those in leadership positions. Even up until the late 1980s, it took 2 weeks for me to send a letter from Minneapolis, Minnesota to Cork, Ireland. When things moved slower and were less complicated, it was more reasonable for a business to rely on 1 or 2 key leaders making all decisions. Today, it's looking different. So, what signs should you look for in order to see if your leader is a command and control type? Signs to look for: they're always the first ones to speak. They're the loudest person in the room. They're always their ideas are always almost adopted. They're not really open to input, and they're almost always walled off from others and their opinions. They're very hierarchical. I've got the title, follow me. They're ruthless sometimes. They're results driven. They take credit for others' work, and they're looking to move up the org ladder. And lastly, they like to surround themselves with people that agree with them and or serve their needs. This leadership style can get results, and it could be necessary in some situations. There are some products that are more industry standard. For example, in the construction industry, I'm sure you all know that a standard framing nail to frame a house is 3.5 inches and is a 16-penny nail. Not a lot of debate or collaboration is needed. The leader pulls together the housing forecast information to estimate how many nails are going to be needed. They purchase the raw materials. They make sure the machines are ready to go. They give the workers their quotas, and we're off to the races. At the end of each shift, we know exactly how many pieces have been built. And we can quickly see if we are on track to meet our deadline. Not a lot of variability to manage. Not a lot of risk to mitigate. Not a lot of motivation to provide to the employees. Unfortunately, not a lot of our work today is this straightforward. As an employee of a command and control leader, there are some benefits. The leaders usually don't bug you very much. They leave you alone to do your job as long as you're meeting your numbers and your quotas. You have comfort in knowing exactly what your day is going to look like. Not a lot of surprises. You have security in your job as long as your boss keeps making the right decision on how to use your skills. You get to focus on just how to do the work and not on what to do next or the operational components of the business. You just take the next piece of work in front of you and you complete it to your best of your ability. Your skill set is able to get very deep and narrow in one area. But there's a downside to this as well. You're viewed as a resource, and a resource that is expensive. To keep their margins healthy, command and control leaders are going to explore ways to replace you. Maybe for a cheaper person that can do your job, or a machine that can do your job with higher quality for longer time periods with no bathroom breaks and no benefits. The biggest risk to you is if the leader makes a bad decision on what to build. Sure, it's not going to be your fault. You did exactly what you're asked to do, but if it is such a big failure, the company may not make it, and thus you are out of a job. So let's take a look at the other style, the servant leader. The name says it all. They are servants to the team first. They lead by serving. Their focus is putting their team in a position to be successful. They understand that fostering an environment where individuals are valued in all aspects will lead to better work outcomes. Servant leaders build a vision for where they want the team to go, what products and services they need to build, and why it's important for the overall success of the company. Then they collaborate with the team on how to get there. They trust that these experts know how to do their jobs, and they have an idea and they have insight on the best way to build the products and services that will delight customers and will help our companies meet their objectives. One way to think about it is that the servant leader is like a farmer. The farmer creates the environment for their crops to grow. They make sure the soil is ready. They make sure there's going to be enough water and sunlight for the plants to achieve their full potential. They don't go around yelling at the corn to grow faster. They don't tell the wheat you're not growing fast enough or how to grow. They just let it happen. They get out of the way and let the team do all the work once they set up the environment. All right, let's get back to the corporate offices. They build a culture of inclusiveness and collaboration that leverages everybody's strengths while giving them a safe environment to improve upon their weaknesses. Signs to look for to see if your boss is a servant leader. They're the last one to talk during a collaboration session. They're constantly asking for input, and they actually listen and take some of your ideas forward. They're as interested, if not more interested, in the morale of the team versus just their outcomes. They're actively removing impediments and resolving issues that the team cannot solve on their own. They're always giving the team credit for the work, and they're always taking the blame for any missed expectations. They provide growth opportunities to team members, even if that happens to be outside the team. They protect the team from unreasonable and unhealthy requests from the company. And they respect people's time away from the office. When you're on vacation, you get to be on vacation. I will not pretend to be a perfect servant leader, but I ran into a friend and colleague a few Saturdays ago and reminded me of a story. For the sake of the story, I'm going to call him John. We were consulting at a giant retailer in Minneapolis. John was a very valuable member of our consulting team. He was so valuable that the giant retailer wanted to hire him full-time. Now, from a consulting standpoint, this was going to be a hit to our revenue. But when I talked to John about it, this was something he really wanted to do. John just welcomed their second baby to the family, and he liked the idea of being an employee, and at this very good company, it was a perfect fit. My reply was, great, let's make it happen. It's a win for John, it's a win for our client. This was an easy decision. John mentioned how much this meant to him, and it really made me feel good about helping John do what was best for him and his family. As work continues to get faster and more complicated, I am seeing less and less business cases for the command and control leader and a desperate need for more servant leaders. There are very few leaders that have all the knowledge needed to make all the decisions. Servant leadership is the future. Servant leaders build environments and teams that people want to be a part of. Employees want to have the opportunities to build new skills and advance their careers, and they see that servant leaders are the ones that'll help them get there. For a while during the pandemic, more power was given to the employees, and they could migrate to the leaders that they wanted to follow. It seems like that pendulum's maybe swinging back towards management, so you want to assess how this is working in your company and how to make it work for you. But no matter where your company is heading now, I implore you to find a leader that you want to be associated with and do everything in your power to join that person's team. Having a leader that you want to follow, one that you trust, and one that opens up opportunities for you will help you be much more fulfilled and relevant at work. So, what do you think? Did we add any value for you today? Did you get any value out of this episode? I would so greatly appreciate hearing from you. What did you like? What did you not like? What would you want us to do more of, less of? All of your feedback is appreciated. So please keep helping us spread the word about FOBO. Please share this with a friend. Share it with an enemy. We all have the right to be relevant at work. Any likes and subscriptions would be greatly appreciated. All of your support helps us out. Thank you and have a great week. I'm your friendly neighborhood product owner, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future. Take care.